Hey everyone, and welcome to the Magical Miracle Network. My name is Ruth Perkinson, and I'm so glad all of you are here with me today. We are starting this month a new video series on A Course in Miracles testimonials. And I am bringing in people from all around here locally in Richmond, Virginia, and all around the United States to have people just testify on how they got to the course, what was their backstory, and what has happened as they've been doing A Course in Miracles, and what they've learned, those kinds of things. And it's just been so interesting to begin to do this series, to begin to investigate who the right people are to bring on to this channel. And our very first guest is a beautiful spirit. His name is Stevie Kastner, and he is here with us today from St. Petersburg, Florida. So, Stevie, just say hello to everyone. Just take a minute to say hi.
Hi, everyone.
So grateful you said yes to being on. And so we're just going to have a really organic chat about who you are and what brought you to the course. And sometimes people just need to get a little feel, a little orientation around where you're from. I think we can talk about your Texas roots, and we can kind of start there. And then maybe a little bit about how your spiritual journey began, and we'll just go from there. So I'll pass it over to you.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from El Paso, Texas. I moved to Florida in 1980. I must have been 9 years old at that time, and lived in northern Florida for a few years, and then we moved to Tampa, and then we moved to St. Petersburg, and I moved here when I was 17 years old. Been in St. Petersburg now 35 years, and so here I am.
Yes, St. Petersburg, and it's a beautiful city down there. I've been in the Gulfport area before, and that whole area up into I think it's what is that area north of St. Pete? It's Tampa Bay, right? Up in that area.
Yep,
Yeah.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about how you started your spiritual journey. You're there in St. Pete, 1980, been there 35 years. And so tell us a little bit about how you began following your lifelong journey into understanding more about who you are and what you're doing here.
So my spirituality, I feel it began at a very young age. I just didn't know what it was. I never was the type of child that followed people. I kind of did my own thing. And throughout those years of kind of being considered the black sheep of the family, I kind of created my own footsteps instead of following footsteps. And in that journey, I always felt that there was something more than just the typical going to Sunday church thing. I grew up, I believe it was Catholic, up until a point where my mother did something against a Catholic religion. And at that point, she decided to leave that religion and go to non-denominational, which was Unity at that time. And even during that time, I always felt that church wasn't my thing. And I always felt that there was something more. I just didn't know what it was. And so fast forward to about 4 years ago, I had met an individual who is a friend today, and he introduced me to Ruth, you. And at that time is when he mentioned your study in A Course in Miracles, and I had never heard of this book prior to meeting you. And so that's when I met you, and we got started on the book, and I started reading all the lessons, which there's 365 lessons. So you have to read a lesson every single day. You have to be committed to it. I will be honest, there was a few lessons in there that were like, what? I had to reread them a couple of times because there was a couple that I would read and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. But sometimes when I read it and put it away and then go back and reread it again, maybe a little bit more would make sense. But I remember there was a few pages that I read that I felt connected to. There was one page in particular, and I'm sorry to say, but I don't even remember the page. But I do remember that I had reached out to you, and I said, I just finished reading lesson, I think it was 170 something or 150 something.
Okay.
And I remember the enlightening feedback that you gave me on that lesson, because it was written by the gentleman that also co-wrote that book with I forgot her name.
Oh, Helen Schuckman. Yeah, Helen Schuckman built that book.
So there was a gentleman that also co-wrote that book with her, and that was the page that he wrote. That was a specific page that he wrote. So so I finished all the lessons, and then I went into, I believe it's I think it's in the back, it's the workbook part. Or a manual for workbook for students is in the back. So I finished the lessons, and then I started the workbook, and then I finished that. And then in conjunction with A Course in Miracles, I also studied a book called Daily Meditations for Practicing the Course, which is written by Karen Casey. And although I don't read A Course in Miracles today, I still read the Daily Meditations for Practicing the Course. This book is so beautiful and such a reminder of what I've learned in A Course in Miracles. And I've been reading it every day ever since I started A Course. And it's a daily read. So every day you read a page, and it's dated. So it tells you what date you should be reading. And I've been reading it ever since I started the course, which was 4 years ago. And I don't put it away. Like, there's 365 pages in here, and some people would say, oh, I'm done for the year, I don't need to read it anymore. Whereas I don't do that. I continue reading every single year, because I feel that in the years that I've been reading this, post reading A Course in Miracles, that it's a really great freshly reminder of what I studied in A Course in Miracles. And not just that, it helps me in my life in general, and it makes me think, and it makes me appreciate and be grateful for certain things in my life.
Absolutely. Oh, it's so well said, Stevie, all that you're bringing forth. And I just wanted to kind of just rewind a little bit. It's kind of interesting that you said when you were doing the workbook, when you first started that, that you felt like you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I understand this, or like you had to stay with it for a few days. I think that's really good golden nugget to bring forth to new students who are doing A Course in Miracles, because the workbook can be very challenging, especially those first 30 days. What do you mean my thoughts are, creating this reality? And, it's all about thought and our thinking. And really, he's having us look at the ego mind so much in those first 30 days. And it really takes a little willingness to get through those first 30 days. So I think a lot of students do bump up against that they sometimes even actively resist some of the lessons. But he's just really saying, even if you actively resist it, keep going forward and doing it. So it sounds like that's what you did.
Yeah, I did. I persisted, because even though I would read a lesson and it didn't make sense to me, I would just continue reading the next day lesson and the lesson after that. And, maybe the next day lesson didn't make sense to me, but I still continued and kept reading the book. So.
Well, thank you for saying that, because I will tell you my experience when I first started doing A Course in Miracles was, 10 years ago. And I remember in the first 6 or 7 or 8 months, I got to a certain part and I just put the book down. I was like, I don't get this lesson or whatever I was on. I was in the 100s. And I was like, I just couldn't do it. So I put it down and I said, I'm not going to do this. I was really actively resisting it. And for like 3 days, I just could not go back to the book. I wouldn't do it. I shut it down. And I think some people have that experience when they first come to the course where they're just like, I don't get this. This is too hard, whatever it might be. And they let it go, or they don't even continue with it. So I guess part of the golden nugget here would be, hey, yeah, if you don't, if this doesn't really resonate, keep going. I think that's your message, right? Keep going, keep trying. And those ancillary books, those supplementary books with the course are very helpful. And remind people of the Karen Casey book. What's the title of that again?
It is called Daily Meditations for Practicing the Course, and I'll show it on the screen.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people really get a lot out of that book, and we'll put it in the description box after we finish our chit chat for sure, so people can look that up and find it and order it if they really want to. Oh, that's so lovely. Okay, so now, and you also read some of Gary Renard's works as well. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, yep. I read Disappearance of the Universe, which is also in conjunction with the Course in Miracles. That book, that was that there were so many synchronicities in that book. It just I don't want to say it scared me. I would say it probably surprised me, because something would occur in my life, or something that did occur in my life, that was in conjunction with that book. Or maybe vice versa with the Course in Miracles, where I read something in A Course in Miracles and he talked about it in Disappearance of the Universe.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
It kind of, reading Disappearance of the Universe at that time kind of correlated with my life at that time, because of the spiritual journey that I was on. And that was another great book to read.
Yeah. Can we right there? I love what you said there about the synchronicities that began occurring when you were doing the course, reading Gary's works. Can we take a little bit of a deeper dive there for a minute and talk about maybe what a few of those synchronicities were looking like in your just normal everyday life? Maybe we can go there for a minute if you can find an example.
So the synchronicities that I was finding was, I was seeing a lot of rainbows during that time. And I think I remember sharing that with you too, that I kept seeing rainbows, and like every time I turned around, I would see a rainbow. I think also at that time, it was my connections with people were evolving in a good way. Other synchronicities were, I think, oh yes, so one time I was going for a walk, and a feather came flying down in front of me. And it wasn't just that one time, it was several times after that. I remember a feather would come falling down on me. And the other one I can think of is probably butterflies. And I think that has a huge part in my role in my butterfly nursery that I created in my backyard. Because I was also, during the time I was reading those books, and during the time when I was doing this monarch butterfly nursery in my backyard, I was finding that not only monarch butterflies would fly around me, but other butterflies would. So that was
wow.
Yeah.
What a great symbol of transformation, and that's a beautiful shamanic symbol of transformation, and I remember you talking about the nursery with the monarch butterflies and how that was really so lovely for you, and how spirit really works with us through and inspires us, to do these certain things that are so helpful to your own ascension, if you want to call it that, to your own transformation. So that's really cool. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the butterflies, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So during the year of COVID, which was, I don't know, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that.
Yes.
My friend Trinity, she was my inspiration, and she's the one that showed me her monarch butterfly nursery in her backyard. So I got inspired from her to do that. So I created the same exact nursery in my backyard, and I just put up a tent in my backyard, and I put a bunch of milkweed inside the tent because that's the go-to for monarch butterflies. And by the end of the whole journey of raising all these beautiful creatures, I released about 60 butterflies
Wow.
during that time. And that was probably during a 3 or 4 month process. So it
Right.
was really amazing to see them go from egg to larva and then to pupa and then to chrysalis and then emerge as a butterfly. And the best experience not was only raising them, but the highlight was being able to release them one by one with my hand. And I remember some of them would take off immediately, and some of them would just kind of hang out for maybe a couple of seconds to a couple of minutes, and then they would take off flying. So that was
Oh,
that was the highlight of that journey.
wow. That is so beautiful how the spirit is really working with you.
Hmm.
And that such a lovely connection to nature
Hmm.
and what it taught, what it teaches us, right? I mean, so from doing all that, what do you think the teaching was for you from the butterflies?
Oh boy. So I think it taught me a couple of things. It taught me to um, appreciate life, to appreciate this human experience and be grateful for everything around me. And another big thing that it taught me was it's it's time to let go and be free.
Yes.
And watching these butterflies fly away was the freeing moment for me, that they could just get up and fly and go wherever they want, which is basically what I had been wanting to do, is just fly and go wherever
Yes.
I want. And that's what I'm doing now. So,
Oh, so well said. Thank you for saying that. So, wow, what an amazing experience you had there with the butterflies. So we'll
mhm.
just kind of go back to A Course in Miracles and back to that and Gary's work. Was there any other synchronicities that came through during that time? Any spiritual gifts that you started to maybe receive at that time? I know you were working on that a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember at one point, I was either reading A Course in Miracles or I was reading a Disappearance in the Universe, and I took a break during my reading, and I kind of just like tilted my head back and just closed my eyes for a minute. And where my eyes were directed at was the ceiling fan in my living room. And so maybe after 5 minutes, I opened up my eyes, and uh, I thought I was seeing things, but I saw the image of Jesus on the ceiling. And I was just like, I kind of like, my reaction was like, oh my God, it's Jesus, was my reaction. And it was just so, I don't know, it just caught me off guard. And then the image or the vision on the ceiling went away.
Yeah.
Um and then I remember Mother Mary coming into my life quite a bit. Um, I don't know if it was during the time I was reading or if it was after the time, but I've always felt that the Mother Mary was my spiritual mother, spiritual guide. And there was a year that she kept showing up. And when I say showing up, not literally showing up, but what I mean is, I would, I would be compelled to turn my head to the right or to the left during a moment where I wouldn't think of doing that. And when I would do that, Mother Mary would be there. And what I mean by that is like a statue or a picture or an image or something of Mother Mary. Um,
Yes.
so that happened quite a bit. Um,
That's
and
interesting. If I can jump in, if you don't mind. So let's just unpack that a little bit about seeing, Jesus is like, wow, there he is, right? And then also seeing these images of Mother Mary. What does that mean to you on your spiritual journey when you see that, when you feel guided to turn? What kind of an impression are you getting? Is it like you're feeling the support, the care? What would that feeling be like so people listening to this can get a nugget of wisdom?
I just felt that she was looking out for me in a time when I was going through some personal stuff. Um, And she was just showing me that she was there, that if I needed to talk to her or seek guidance, that she was there. And I kind of feel like, she's kind of like a mother in that part too, because she's very nurturing and very loving. So I would always feel that when I was compelled to turn my head or look at something or see her. And, times I would just say thank you for when I would see her image or whatever it was. So.
And that's so well said, Stevie, and thank you for saying that, because that really is the Holy Spirit comforting us through the different symbols that we see. And also with the beautiful symbol of Jesus right there. It's like, it really is such a comfort to know that we're not alone, right? Even though it feels like sometimes it can be a lonely journey, that these symbols come through and we are turned or look and there it is. And that's a connection with spirit. I'm going to have to say it. I love your t-shirt. So I'm going to bring it up because I think a lot of people really connect with the spirit of Dolly Parton. So if you wouldn't mind, can you just show us your t-shirt there and what it says?
Dolly Parton, what would Dolly do? WWDD.
I love that. And I think that's such a beautiful Dolly Parton. What amazing spirit she is. And she's brought so much light and love into the world. And I absolutely love her. I just, would love to go to Dollywood at some point and hang out and just check out that whole theme park. I think it's somewhere in Tennessee. I don't know. But anyway, I love what you're saying there about the synchronicities, about seeing those, having that your body turn and seeing those things. Was there anything else that came up, or was that just in that zone there? Was there anything else that came up later, or?
No, nothing came up later. I think she kept reminding me that she was there. And that's why I was always compelled to turn my head to wherever direction she was. And the only other thing that I can remember that's connected to the Mother Mary is I remember waking up one morning with this intense amount of love, but it was like a motherly love. And I kind of felt like it was her love. It's a love and a comfort that I have never felt before. And it was so intense and so comforting that I didn't want it to leave. Yes. And I just wanted to stay in that moment. And after that moment had passed, I kind of felt that was Mother Mary with me, either embracing me or just sharing her love with me.
Wow. So. Well, that's it's an incredible story. I'm really grateful that you're sharing these synchronicities that were sort of born out of your experience with A Course in Miracles, your experience with the Karen Casey book, and also your experience with Disappearance of the Universe as well, that these images really started to appear and be with you in a sense, and to support and help and comfort you and guide you. That's so beautiful, because he really does talk about in the first 30 days of the workbook, and even a little bit beyond that you'll start to have episodes of light. You'll have these, you might, the Holy Spirit's working with you through the symbols that you understand. And so I think that's super amazing. So anyway, so Stevie, I'm so grateful you've come onto this network to share with us your journey to A Course in Miracles. You've been studying it, doing the Karen Casey book. Is there anything you can impart to newcomers who come to the course that might be helped by something that you learned as you were going through it? Anything that's coming to mind?
I would say for a new person coming into the course to be open-minded with what you're about to read, because you're going to learn a lot, and you're definitely going to learn a lot about forgiveness. That was one of the biggest things that I learned from reading the course. And another thing that was very profound to me is that none of this is real.
Absolutely. Yeah, that we're living in we have this dramatic, holographic hallucination that we're all taking part in, aren't we? Yeah. And that really is kind of a mind blower when you first are getting into A Course in Miracles, that you really begin to understand and grok that this is a world of separation, and this really is not our true home. And it's an unreal world of separation, guilt, fear, death, and he's waking us up to the real world. And I think that's a lovely place, a lovely goal for all of us. And you're right, forgiveness really is the clue. Forgiveness is the miracle. Shifting our perception from guilt, from our mother, our brother, our sister, our father, whoever it might be, shifting our perception of them and holding them guilty or grievance against them, and shifting out of that and seeing them as the light. And that really is forgiveness, looking past those grievances into the light.
Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. Forgiveness is the key.
Yes. Yeah. Forgiveness is the key. And as you were talking, one of the things that it always comes into my mind, and it's one of the lessons in A Course in Miracle, and it goes, I am not a body, I am free, for as God created me.
Yes.
And for some reason that has stuck in my mind ever since I read that book. And it just sounds right. It's just, I am not a body, I am free, for as God created me. It just reminds me that you are free.
Yes. Well said, Stevie. Thank you so much. We are spiritual beings, and our spirit is eternal, and these bodies are ephemeral. They're short-lived, temporary expressions, and they continue to change and shift for 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years. But then we just sort of, as the butterfly, we just transform into spirit, and that's the goal, because spirit truly is eternal. Oh, I love it. Well, we're coming to the close of this testimonial on A Course in Miracles with you, and I'm going to just ask you if there's any final thoughts that you might want to share with anyone before we hit stop.
I would just say have fun and be free.
I absolutely agree. Yeah. Yes. Have fun, be free, be who you are, speak your truth, right? And you've really taught me so much, and just having known you for the last 4 or 5 years. And what I love about you is your honesty, your willingness, and your tenacity, and your spiritual journey. So thank you for being with us. And we'll have you back on from time to time to impart your wisdom. How about that?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you again. This is Stevie Kastner. He's coming to us live from St. Petersburg, Florida. He's an amazing course student, and is really imparting his wisdom and his beautiful synchronicities and the visions of Mother Mary and the vision of Jesus. Wow. So helpful for our viewers to really understand that doing A Course in Miracles is a lifetime journey. It's just not a one and done. It's a lifetime journey. So thank you again. So be very patient with me as I hit the stop button. And Stevie, what would Dolly do?
Oh, geez. She'd do everything.
I agree. God bless you.